welcome to my first video on this channel, and what better way to start off this video than to share with you all my top 10 books of 2024. In 2024, I have read 26 books and DNF'd 4, coming to a total of 30 books in 2024. Now, I've been contemplating whether I should do a top 10 books or a top 5 books of 2024, and as you can see, we are doing a top 10 of 2024. So it wasn't too hard to come up with my top 10 books of 2024. Instead of having too many books to choose from, I actually had too little books to choose from. To make things harder, I'm going to rank them from number 1 being my favorite of 2024 to number 10, which is still pretty good, my top 10, but the lowest, I guess you can say, of 2024. So without further ado, let's jump right into my top 10 books of 2024. Coming in at number 10 is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I'm pretty shocked about this because I heard many great things about Crooked Kingdom. I don't think I have heard any bad reviews on Crooked Kingdom. However, because my expectations were so high, it didn't meet my high expectations. It was still very, very good. I ate it up, kind of. I think the reason why it's sitting at number 10 has to do with 2 reasons. The first reason being that I read this in January of 2024, and due to recency bias, I don't really remember much of what has happened, except for the more major events that had happened in Crooked Kingdom. On top of that, I also read Six of Crows back in January of 2023, so there was a 1-year gap between these 2 books. Crooked Kingdom is the second installment of the duology Six of Crows. Now, prior to Six of Crows, you can read the trilogy Shadow and Bone, but I guess in my opinion, if you don't mind the little spoiler that you get in Six of Crows about Shadow and Bone, then go ahead and read Six of Crows first before reading Shadow and Bone. However, if you don't think you're gonna read Shadow and Bone at all, you can skip that completely and just read Six of Crows. So a quick synopsis of Six of Crows, since this is the second installment. Six of Crows, we are following Kaz Brekker and his band of misfits as they embark on a near impossible heist. And the reward, they're going to be rich, beyond their wildest dreams. So we follow them as they embark on this heist. And you will see this found family blossom, as well as a slow burn. So if you like found family, if you like a slow burn, if you like a heist, I would highly recommend Six of Crows or Crooked Kingdom. I actually liked Crooked Kingdom better than Six of Crows, but I do plan on doing a reread of Six of Crows and then right after jumping into Crooked Kingdom so that I can really immerse myself in the Grishaverse once again, or actually in Ketterdam, I guess you could say. That was number 10, Crooked Kingdom. Coming in at number 9 is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Again, this is another recency bias in my opinion. I read this in January of 2024, and again, I only remember a few major events. I don't even remember all the major events. And currently I am reading Daisy Hates, and I much prefer Daisy Hates compared to Magnolia Parks. How the Magnolia Parks universe works is that you follow Magnolia Parks, and she is this rich... Is she famous? I'm not sure. I think she's famous, but she's pretty much a high society, affluential socialite, and she is dating a bad boy named BJ Valentine, and they are star-crossed lovers. They're meant for each other. However, they just can't seem to get it right. They keep going on this on and off relationship, and when they are on the off time of their relationship, Magnolia Parks dates other men so that BJ is kept at bay, whereas BJ sleeps with other women to get back at Magnolia. You can see the toxicity No. You can see the toxic relationship that's occurring in this novel. This is not your fluffy romance here. This is a toxic roller coaster of a ride romance novel. Is it romance? Maybe. If you like following a high society London, if you like feeling something, I think that's the best way to say it. If you want to be in a wild roller coaster trying to follow along Magnolia Parks and BJ Valentine's relationship, highly recommend Magnolia Parks. As I mentioned before, Magnolia Parks universe, there's a Magnolia Parks universe and a Daisy Hates universe. They kind of alternate between the books. The Magnolia Parks universe is actually completed. There's 5 books in total for the Magnolia Parks Daisy Hates universe. There's 3 books of Magnolia Parks and 2 books currently, I think, for Daisy Hates. I am currently reading Daisy Hates, and I am team Daisy Hates over Magnolia Parks. That is number 9, Magnolia Parks. Coming in at number 8, I actually borrowed this from the library, and it is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This book got me out of my summer reading slump. I know, summer reading slump. I did not pick up a book from the months of May to August, pretty much. The Dead Romantics is about our female main character who is a ghost writer for this famous romance author. She meets her new editor, and the new editor would not allow her to extend the book deadline. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So she actually is a ghostwriter, as I mentioned, but she gets into a really bad breakup, and because of that, she gets into a writing slump because she does not believe in love anymore. After getting denied the book deadline, she gets a call from her family saying that her father passed away, and her family runs a funeral home. So she goes back to her hometown, and here's the catch: she can see ghosts. If you like paranormal, supernatural stuff. So if you like a supernatural romance, if you like enemies to lovers romance, with that being said, there are elements of grief in the novel. However, I find that Ashley Poston did a really good job in kind of lightening the mood a bit in this novel. If you like enemies to lovers, if you like reading about ghosts, I guess, it's not scary, so it's like lighthearted. If you like reading about that, if you don't mind reading about grief, I would highly recommend The Dead Romantics. It was such a good book. I actually had no expectations going into The Dead Romantics because the hype is on The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. So I actually have that here. I don't know, I'm trying not to have such a high expectation on that book so that it doesn't kind of ruin my rating, I guess you can say. The Dead Romantics sitting at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is actually a book that I recently finished, pretty much 2 days ago, and it is A Psalm for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. This book was so cozy and wholesome, and I think it has sci-fi elements into it. I don't know if you can call it sci-fi, but I will call it sci-fi. We follow Dex, and they decide to change courses in their lives. As they change their course in life, they actually encounter a robot, shall we say. And the robot, its name is Moscap. I don't remember the full name of Moscap, but I just remember Moscap. So we see the interaction between Dex and this robot Moscap, and just their conversations with each other is very thought-provoking and very wholesome. I would highly recommend A Psalm for the Wild-Built if you like sci-fi, I guess you can say, or if you want to try to get into sci-fi, I would recommend A Psalm for the Wild-Built. And if you like coziness, that's just an extra bonus to that. A Psalm for the Wild-Built is only 146 pages, so it's a very short novel. So if you want like a little palate cleanser, or if you want to just read something short, A Psalm for the Wild-Built is amazing. I actually heard about A Psalm for the Wild-Built from Peruse Project here on YouTube, but it was pretty low on my TBR list until my eldest sister here on YouTube read it and loved it and recommended it. And so it went from the bottom of my TBR list to the top of my TBR list. And she actually liked the second book as well. I forgot the name of it, something about the crown shy. I don't remember too much about it, but I also am looking forward to reading the second installment of the Monk and the Robot series. That's what it's called, by the way. So coming in at number 6, I think this should be a little bit higher on my top 10, but I think this is a good spot actually. So the number 6 spot goes to The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I ate this book up. I actually ate this whole series up. I finished this series within the first 3 months of the year. So The Prison Healer is, I would say, is a really good introduction to romantasy or just fantasy, because the fantasy elements of the book isn't too hard to follow. It's not even hard to follow along. The magical elements are actually elemental magic. So if you like elemental magic, I would highly recommend The Prison Healer. But anyway, I am getting ahead of myself. The Prison Healer is the first book in the Prison Healer series. I think that's what the series is called. The Prison Healer is about our female main character, Kiva, and her family gets caught in a rebellious movement. From what I remember, I don't think they were rebellious to begin with. They just got accused of it. And so Kiva gets thrown into, I forgot what it was called, but she gets thrown into prison and she becomes a prison healer for that prison. In this prison, it is nearly impossible to escape alive. So one day the rebel queen gets caught and gets put into the prison. However, she is deathly ill. I don't know if that makes sense. She is super ill and she gets sent to the prison healer. Now, because she is very sick, she is caught, she is the rebel queen. So she actually has to undergo these 4 trials and she needs to survive them. So that's her consequence, I guess you could say. And because she is too sick, Kiva volunteers as tribute. The Hunger Game-esque vibe in this book. Kiva volunteers to go in place of the rebel queen to undergo these 4 near impossible trials. These 4 trials are elemental trials. It is air, fire, water, and earth, ground. I think that's what it's called. It's pretty much impossible to survive all 4 trials, let alone 1 trial. And if she actually succeeds in surviving these 4 trials, she gets to go free. She gets to leave the prison unharmed. If that intrigues you, I highly recommend The Prison Healer. However, I would say this is a YA romantasy or fantasy, more so on the romantasy. So I found that there was a cheesy element in the book. I think it is catered to the YA audience, so I guess it's okay. But pretty much I just brushed it off and pretty much ignored it. Overall, it was still a very interesting read for me. So if that intrigues you, I highly recommend The Prison Healer. One extra note about The Prison Healer, every book had a cliffhanger and it just threw me by surprise and got me to wanting to read the next book as soon as possible. So coming in at number 5 is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sengu Mondana. First of all, look at the cover. It is gorgeous. This is probably one of my favorite covers of books that I own. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches is a cozy fantasy about witches. I would say this is very similar to The House in the Cerulean Sea in terms of the cozy vibes, in terms of the fantasy vibes, and in terms of the found family vibes. In this book, we are following Mika Moon, and she is a witch. To no surprise. In this world, you need to keep your witch identity on the down low. She pretends to be a witch on YouTube. She gets noticed and gets contacted by someone in the Nowhere House to actually teach these kids magic. And surprise, surprise, these kids are witches. There were some topics that, or maybe a topic that was brought up but never really resolved, and I forgot what it was. But anyways, regardless, I pretty much brushed it off and gave this a 5 stars. Regardless, it was just a very cute read. I did not care much for Mika Moon and the male main character, Jamie's relationship. I actually liked more of Ian and Ken's relationship. I thought Ian was very funny and very all over the place, jumping everywhere. Love it. I love his energy. And for Ken, he was just this calm, grounded guy. One note is that even though this is about witches, I would actually recommend reading this in November, December, because this takes place during Christmas-ish. It does cover the Christmas time, but I think it starts in November. So if you want to pick up this book, I would recommend reading it for the winter time rather than October for the spooky vibes. So number 4 and number 3 are very close. They interchange throughout the whole year pretty much. Number 4 has to be Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I discovered Abby Jimenez through Sunny Kim Reads here on YouTube. Abby Jimenez has got to be my favorite author of all time. Here we are following our female main character. I think her name is Brianna, and she is a doctor and she wants a higher role. I forgot what the role was. Pretty much a manager or maybe a director or something, but she's a doctor. She wants that higher position. She's been working at this hospital for many years, and so she thinks she can get this job. However, a new doctor comes in, and this is our main male character, and I don't remember his name, Jacob. Our main male character is also a doctor. He's new to this hospital, but he gets put in competition with Brianna for this role. You get an enemies to lovers in here. You get an anxiety representation from the main male character. So if you like anxiety representation in your book, highly recommend this book. If you like enemies to lovers, I highly recommend this book. If you like STEM romances, highly recommend this book. I loved it. It was great. And I had extremely high expectations again because I have never heard anything bad about Yours Truly. Now, let's talk about our number 3 book. So before I talk about number 3, actually, Yours Truly is actually the second installment of the Part of Your World interconnected standalone series. There's 3 books in the Part of Your World interconnected standalone series. And now let's go into the number 3 book of 2024. Coming in at number 3 is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Again, these 2 books, again, were very close, but if I were to think deeply, I would say Part of Your World, because I had no expectations going in for Part of Your World. I haven't heard much about Part of Your World, and for those who did read Part of Your World, they would compare it with Yours Truly and would prefer Yours Truly over Part of Your World. We have our female main character who is a doctor at this big city, and it's the same hospital as Brianna. We follow a big city girl and our main male character, a small town guy who is a carpenter and mayor of the small town. So their lives cross paths, and they kind of have to see if they can really work a relationship together despite their different backgrounds. So I really loved this book. I never thought I would be into a small town romance novel, so this really was very eye-opening for me. If you like a small town romance, if you like STEM romances, highly recommend Part of Your World. Coming in at number 2 is another book that I was shocked would be at number 2. Again, didn't really have too high of an expectation for this one. And number 2 goes to Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So Ali Hazelwood writes STEM romances, and surprisingly, I didn't read any STEM romances from her. So my first book from Ali Hazelwood is Bride, which is her first fantasy novel. And this fantasy novel is about vampires and werewolves, so it's giving Twilight vibes. We follow our main female character who is a vampire, I don't remember her name, and she gets in an arranged marriage with the werewolf, our main male character. Again, don't remember his name. They get into this arranged marriage so that the vampire world and the werewolf world are pretty much on neutral ground. However, I would say there was one spice scene in this book. I actually didn't notice it until, I think, afterwards. It's about a spice scene between a vampire and a werewolf and just the lore of that. So if you like vampires in your romance, if you like werewolves in your romance books, I would highly recommend Bride. If you like witty banter, I would recommend Bride. After reading Bride, I was very intrigued into reading Ali Hazelwood. So I actually have The Love Hypothesis coming in soon, and I actually have 2 books from Ali Hazelwood here with me. I have Love on the Brain and also Love Theoretically. So these books will be read in the near future. Coming into my favorite book of 2024. It's Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. No surprise there, Abby Jimenez takes the number 1 spot. This is the 3rd installment of the Part of Your World interconnected standalone series, and I was actually shocked that this pretty much beat Part of Your World and Yours Truly, because I did not expect to like a third installment in even though it's an interconnected standalone series, I did not expect that. So we follow our main male character, and he has a curse. His curse is that every girl he dates, when they break up, the girl finds their soulmate. Now, in comes our female main character, Emma, and she actually also has the same curse. So every guy that she dates, when they break up, the guy finds their soulmate. Our female main character, Emma, stumbles upon a Reddit forum written by Justin talking about this curse, and she's sympathizing with him. So they decide to date or pretend date and break up so that they can find their soulmate. Now, this synopsis is very surface level. There's more to it than that. Justin actually has to take custody of his 3 siblings all of a sudden. And on top of that, Emma has to deal with her toxic mother, and they are trying to work it out together. This really was a lot. Highly recommend this. Justin is this really sweet guy, very nerdy guy as well. So a lot of people like Justin. It was great. Love it. Love this book. I can't like this. I have to read more Abby Jimenez books. This is number 1 on my top 10 books of 2024. And that concludes my top 10 books of 2024. Let me know down below, what's your top 10 books of 2024? Are any of these part of your top 10 books of 2024? Are any of these on your TBR list? Let me know. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of this video and for joining me on my first video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.